Today, we are diving into one of the greatest archaeological detective stories of our time. It's a story where a volcano, some ancient scrolls, and, believe it or not, cutting-edge AI are coming together to unlock a 2,000-year-old library that everyone thought was lost for good. So, let me just ask you this. What if you could read a book that was literally burned in a volcanic eruption 2 millennia ago? A book filled with stories and knowledge from the ancient Roman world. I mean, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? Well, take a look at this. It might look like just a lump of charcoal, but this is one of those books. For almost 2,000 years, all its secrets were locked inside, completely and totally unreadable, until now. Okay, so to really get how this is even possible, we need to go back, way back. We have to understand the absolutely cataclysmic event that created this incredible and incredibly frustrating time capsule. The year is 79 AD. Mount Vesuvius erupts, and you know the story. It famously buries the city of Pompeii. But just about 12 miles away, another Roman city, Herculaneum, is about to face a slightly different, but just as catastrophic fate. You see, Herculaneum wasn't just buried in ash. It was hit by something called a pyroclastic flow. And this thing is terrifying. It's a superheated cloud of gas, we're talking over 400 degrees Celsius, that moves so fast it sucks all the oxygen out of the air. And that lack of oxygen, that is the absolute key here. See, if you burn a piece of paper with oxygen, it just turns to ash, right? It's gone. But without oxygen, the papyrus, scrolls, and Herculaneum didn't burn. They were carbonized. You know, think of it like a marshmallow you forget in the campfire. It doesn't just disappear, it turns into this brittle black carbon shell. So in a wild twist of fate, the very disaster that buried the scrolls also preserved them. But this created what might be archaeology's greatest puzzle. How in the world do you read a book that will crumble into dust the second you try to open it? And just look at how long this puzzle sat unsolved. These scrolls were found way back in the 1750s, inside this lavish Roman villa, and for nearly 270 years, nothing. Every single attempt to physically unroll them was a total disaster. They just fell apart, and their secrets remained locked away. And here's the real kicker, the technical challenge they called the invisible ink problem. The ink the ancient Romans used was carbon-based, basically soot. And the papyrus it was written on, well, the volcano had turned that into carbon too. So you had black ink on black paper, both made of the same stuff. To an X-ray, they were completely identical. The text was hiding in plain sight. So after centuries of dead ends, the story finally jumps into our era. In 2023, a group of scientists and tech entrepreneurs looked at this impossible problem and decided to try something completely new. They launched the Vesuvius Challenge. And they did something brilliant. They put up over $1 million in prize money. They challenged anyone, anywhere in the world, to use modern tech to read these scrolls without ever physically opening them. And that, of course, sparked this massive global race between computer scientists, physicists, and AI gurus. So how'd they finally crack it? Well, it was a 3-step process, and it was all powered by AI. First, they took these incredibly detailed, high-resolution 3D scans of the still rolled-up scrolls. Then came the really genius part. They trained machine learning models to hunt for these tiny, microscopic differences in texture, the little bumps and cracks that the ink left behind. The AI basically learned to see the ghost of the ink, something human eyes never could. And then it digitally unrolled the whole thing to reveal the text inside. The entire project, all this technology, all this hope, it all came down to one single moment. Could this theory actually work? They just needed one word, one little piece of proof to show that the lock had finally been picked. And here it is. The big breakthrough didn't come from some massive research lab, but from a 21-year-old college student named Luke Ferrator. He was the very first person to use an AI model to clearly pull a full word from deep inside one of these charred scrolls, and that word was porphyras. Porphyras translates to purple. Now, obviously, the word purple by itself isn't going to rewrite history, but finding it, that was absolutely monumental. It was the proof. It showed once and for all that these texts could be read. The door to this lost library was finally, officially open. So, the door's open. What's actually inside? Well, the discoveries are really just starting to trickle out, but what we're seeing is already changing how we think about the ancient world. And you have to keep this in perspective. Everything we're about to talk about, it all comes from just 5% of one single scroll. We have barely, and I mean barely, scratched the surface here. There are hundreds more just waiting. And even from that tiny little piece, we're getting this direct, unfiltered window into their world. They've already found unknown writings from an Epicurean philosopher named Philodemus, and he's talking about music and food and pleasure. We are literally reading the dinner party conversations that intellectuals were having 2,000 years ago. Okay, but this is where the story gets really, really exciting. Because those first discoveries, they're just the appetizer. The main course, the real hunt, is for the legendary lost knowledge of the ancient world. And here's where things get almost unbelievable. A lot of scholars think the library they found so far, the one filled with all this Greek philosophy, was just the villa owner's personal collection. The theory is that there's a second, much bigger library, a Latin library full of Roman history and poetry and science, still buried somewhere deeper in the villa. And what could be in that library? I mean, this is the stuff of dreams. We could be talking about recovering lost Roman histories, finding missing plays by Sophocles, or even scientific texts from people like Archimedes, containing knowledge that was lost to the world for centuries. And this whole incredible journey brings us to one last really big question. As we start using this amazing technology to look deep into our own past, it really makes you wonder, if you could bring back one piece of lost knowledge, whether it's scientific or philosophical or artistic, what would be the most important thing for us to learn from our ancestors today?